But we're coming back, and here comes Seth riding by on a bike. Riding by on a bike by himself, giving me a dirty look. I got you. I'm just...
Before we get into today's video, I did want to let you guys know that this video is for educational purposes only. Please remember to be kind to everybody everywhere, in your everyday life, in your home, in the grocery store, and especially in the comment section down below. Please do not show hate to anybody, anywhere. Good morning, my lovelies, my beauties, my friends. My name is Christina and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I really hope that you will subscribe, stick around, take a chance in hearing some things that I have to say. And if you are a returning subscriber, y'all already know, y'all are my babies. So good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing today? I hope you all are having an amazing day. I hope you all have had a wonderful week. I hope the weather is nice there where you are at. So before we get into today's video, just a little heads up. Next week as of this video coming out for you guys, we will be doing spooky week here. So you guys are going to get more videos. So make sure you're subscribed if you're not subscribed, and you have your notification bell on if you don't want to miss the spooky videos. And y'all, they're so good. I mean, they're in my opinion, they're all good, but I mean, we talk about real stuff over here, right? We're not talking about fictional stuff. We're talking about real stuff. And the videos next week are just topics too that I am so into and interested with. So I hope that you guys enjoy them, and I hope you guys will watch and let me know if you do or you don't in the comment section. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about a case that happened back in 2011 right here in Florida. And you guys, this one just hits home for me personally in so many different ways. One of the ways, because I'm a boy mom, okay? Some of y'all are boy moms out there, and dads and grandmas and papas. And also just because of the lifestyle of the people that we're going to be talking about is just some of the ways, like just, you know, that young love and that, you know, all of that stuff. Just so many aspects of this story is familiar. And then there's a lot of aspects that ain't familiar too. So I'm going to do like I typically do. I'm going to tell you guys the whole entire story from the best of my ability with the information that's already out there. And then at the end of the story, I'm going to give you guys my opinion and some things that I just think about when I think about this. And we'll just kind of go over that type of thing at the end. So make sure you stay to the end if you want to hear those things. Before we go any further, I did want to stop and thank today's sponsor, Factor. Factor makes meeting your nutrition goals easier than ever by delivering fresh, never frozen, dietitian-approved meals right to your doorstep. You guys, it is fall time. It's starting to get cooler. And if you want to try some like comfort, warm, autumn, like fall meals, Factor has got you covered, but they are a limited time only, so you better get them now. They got really delicious meals like cranberry pecan chicken and apple Dijon pork chops. Ready in just 2 minutes, and they'll definitely satisfy your fall cravings during the busy season without a hassle. And if you're looking for calorie conscious meals, then make sure that you try Factor's Calorie Smart meals that have 550 calories or less. But if you are looking to get more protein in your diet, then try Factor's meals Protein Plus with 30 grams of protein per meal or more. At this point, I wish that I had Factor chefs come into my home and they could cook me breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because these meals are so good. They're highly nutritious and they meet all of my nutritional goals, whether it be more protein, less calories. They also have vegan meals. They also have keto. It just depends on what you guys are looking for. They've got it. If you want to try Factor, all you got to do is go to factor75.com and use my code ChristinaRandall50, and you can save 50% off of your first box today. Yes, all you got to do is go to factor75.com, use my code ChristinaRandall50, and you can start saving today. Thanks again, Factor. So other than that, let's just start at the beginning. Seth Tyler Jackson was born on February 3rd of 1996 to his mother, Sonia Jackson, and his father, Scott Jackson. They lived in Bellevue, Florida, and Seth was the youngest of 3 boys. Seth would grow up and end up going to Bellevue High School, and he really wanted to be a UFC fighter one day. Friends and family say that Seth was kind-hearted and loved hanging out with his friends and enjoyed four-wheeling with his family and was a huge animal lover. When Seth got to his sophomore year and was 15 years old, he met and started dating a girl named Amber Wright. Amber had a 16-year-old brother named Kyle. And now Amber and her brother Kyle were very tight, and Kyle ended up becoming best friends with Seth. So just so we're following here, we've got 15-year-old Seth, okay, and he's got his best friend Kyle. He's also dating his best friend's sister, Amber, who at this point, you know, this young 15-year-old, I mean, they just think that they're just like in love, okay? And Amber had a best friend named Charlie. Now, I want to tell you guys a bit about Charlie Ely. Charlie Ely was a few years older than Seth and Amber. She had a rough upbringing and she grew up in a very small town in Maryland. Charlie said that she was bullied in school because she was legally blind in one eye and just could not wait to be 18 so she could move out. Against all odds, Charlie did go on to graduate high school in 2010. And when she did, this is when she decided that she was going to move out, leave Maryland where she was living, and move down to Florida so she could rekindle the relationship with her birth mother. The people that she lived with and was close with up in Maryland tried to talk Charlie out of it. They said, listen, you just graduated high school. You're 18 years old. Give it a couple years. Stay up here, you know, maybe get a job, get on your feet, But Charlie was like, no, I'm going to move to Florida and rekindle this relationship with my mother, start over brand new in a new place. And she had high hopes for her future. Now, Charlie's mother had a boyfriend who had a 21-year-old son named Joseph David Burham.
I had a message from him and I had just turned 18, so that made it even better. So I read his message and I got his number and I started texting him. It was July 13th when we first started texting and we started dating that night. It went from there. It was great.
In August of 2010, Charlie moved to Lakeland, Florida to live with her mother. Now, Charlie would go on to say that she lived with her mother for about 2 to 3 days before she was ready to get out. Some of that, I don't know the whole story, but some of that may have to do with that 21-year-old guy that she became boyfriend and girlfriend with overnight via text message, that she didn't want to live with her mom anymore. And in September of that year, less than 2 months from the time that Charlie moved from Maryland to Florida, she married this guy, Joseph, and her and him got a place together and were living in Somerville, Florida. Now, Joseph, who had quite a criminal past already at 21 years old, was on probation. He ends up violating his probation and getting sent to prison for 3 years in January of 2011. So now you've got Charlie, 18 years old, just graduated high school, living in a whole nother state, living in a home alone. She married a guy that she just met, moves into a house with him, and now he's sent to prison. She's by herself and she don't really have any friends or anything. And so this is how Charlie and Amber became friends. Now, for those of y'all that are a little bit older, I want y'all to think back to y'all's teenage years when some of y'all was ripping and running the streets. And imagine this house where Charlie's living at, okay? So she's, again, 18 years old by herself. She's got her own house. Kids from all over, teenagers, start to congregate towards her home because they can do anything they want to there. It's a bunch of teenagers with no, like, adult supervision. I mean, Charlie's 18, but come on. I mean, hello. Adult supervision, they could do whatever they wanted to. So that's exactly what started to happen. All of these teenagers started to come to Charlie's house. A couple of them even moved in and was renting rooms from her, and they were drinking, they was smoking, they was doing whatever they wanted to, and this became this party house for these teenagers. This brings us back to Seth and Amber. Now, Seth and Amber, again, they were what they called dating, okay? Young puppy love. They were just so in love one minute and they were arguing the next minute. And things started to become quite toxic between the two. And from what I understand, a lot of it had to do with the fact that Seth believed that his girlfriend Amber was cheating on him. And Seth became particularly suspicious of an 18-year-old guy named Michael Bargo. Because of this, their relationship became even more toxic, and they ended up breaking up in March of 2011. Now, although Amber was swearing up and down to Seth that she was not cheating on him with Michael, after they broke up, guess who little Amber started to date? Yes, Michael. Even though Amber and Seth were no longer together, the toxicity between the two continued to get worse, and it even went over to social media. Seth and Amber's public battle began on April 8th when Amber wrote on Seth's Facebook wall, replying to things Seth had already publicly said about her, saying, "I got so tired of you treating me like I was nothing. If you're so perfect, why don't you get over your jealousy and get a new girl you can hurt? You know I care deeply about you. I stuck with you through a lot of stuff, and it takes a real man to accept the fact that he got broken up with." Michael, on the other hand, was getting more and more agitated about the two arguing, and you can just only imagine, right? So Michael's with his new little girlfriend, Amber, okay? She's constantly beefing with her ex-boyfriend, so he's getting mad. This is when rumors started to come out that Seth had been physically to Amber. And around this time, during all of this feuding between the teenagers, this is when Seth's mother said that Michael came to the house to confront her son, and he said to her son, Seth, "I have a bullet with your name on it." At the time, Michael already had a criminal record for theft and was openly carrying a firearm.
Now, after that incident, Michael and now Michael's new best friend, Kyle, who Kyle is Amber's brother, and Kyle used to be best friends with Seth, but now he's best friends with Michael.
And after that incident, Michael and Kyle challenged Seth to bring his friends to come over to Charlie's house where they all were and to have a fight. However, when Seth and his friends showed up to Charlie's house to fight, this is when they heard gunshots and they decided to leave. So they show up there thinking they're about to just throw hands. They start hearing pop, 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 and they ran off. Later, it was said that Michael fired off these rounds in order to scare the guys. Then on April 17th, Michael told Kyle that he just needed to kill Seth and that he wanted his new best friend, Kyle, to help him. Now, to most normal teenagers, when your friend asks you to help them off someone, they say no. I got a feeling there was more substances going on with these teenagers versus just drinking and green, but we'll get more to that later. I think they was doing some harder stuff and all of them was out of their mind. In this situation, you got one threatening to burn the other one's house down. You got the other one saying, "Come over here, bring your friends, let's all fight." When you get there, the other one's shooting off rounds in the air. Just a toxic mess. And most of it's going down at this girl Charlie's house, who again moved from Maryland down here, marries her estranged mother's boyfriend's son, and then he goes to prison. Y'all, it is a crazy mess at this point, okay? But nevertheless, one night, and I don't know what these teenagers were on, but I do believe they was on something, are sitting around at Charlie's house talking about getting rid of Seth for good. A few of them would then come up with a plot. This is when allegedly Michael, Amber's new boyfriend, told her that she should lure Seth back to the house so they could end his life. Sitting around talking about these plans at 18-year-old Charlie Ely's house was, of course, Michael and Amber, Amber's 16-year-old brother Kyle, and their 20-year-old friend Justin Soto. The plan was for Amber to lure Seth over to the house. The guys were going to jump him and then they would shoot him. After they all agreed to this plan, Amber started texting Seth that night. She started telling him that she missed him and that she wanted to talk to him and that she wanted to work things out. She said that she wanted to meet with him and talk with him, but that she did not want him to tell anyone, to keep it a complete secret. Don't tell anyone. Now, Seth was skeptical. He was like, "Are you trying to get me jumped? Like, What is this about? Whatever. She was promising him, no, I'm not going to get you jumped. I want to meet with you. We need to talk. Against Seth's gut intuition, he believed Amber, and I can only just assume that he wanted to believe Amber, and he made plans to go and meet with her. Amber left with her best friend Charlie on foot to walk to meet Seth. When Amber and Charlie saw Seth, Seth had high hopes. He thought he was going to work it out with Amber, who he obviously felt like he was in love with, this young teenage love. And they started to walk back to Charlie's house. When they got to Charlie's house and they went inside, Kyle, again, who used to be Seth's best friend, hit him multiple times in the head with this object. The two girls then ran off to separate bedrooms, and after they were out of the way, this is when Michael came out with his firearm and started firing off rounds. Even though Seth, who again, you guys, is 15 years old, was wounded horribly, he managed to get up, stumble out the door, and was trying to escape. This is when that other guy, Justin, saw him, tackled him, and started swinging on him, or like beating him, after he had already been shot and hit in the head multiple times with a wooden object. And this is when Michael ran outside and started firing off his firearm again. Michael, Justin, and Kyle carried Seth back into the house and put him in the bathtub. Michael continued hitting and yelling at Seth while he fired more bullets at him. The fatal shot was to Seth's face. But according to his friends, he was like playing with his tongue while he was in the bathtub, and he's deceased at this point. This is when also Michael started telling the guys that he needed to break the kneecaps of Seth so he could get him in a duffel bag. And that's what he did. He got him into some sort of duffel bag. They took his body outside over a fire pit and then lit it on fire. Shockingly,
Amber and Kyle's mother's boyfriend,
a 37-year-old man named James Havens, knew of this plan in advance but didn't want to be present for it. And on the morning of April 18th, which was the next morning, he showed up with cinder blocks and cables in the back of his truck to help them cover up their crime. Bleach was used to remove evidence, and the remains from the fire pit were shoveled into 3 paint buckets and put into the back of James' truck. James then drove Michael and Justin along with these buckets with Seth's remains in them to this like water-filled quarry in Ocala. And this is when the boys would get out and dump the contents of the buckets into this water area where the remains sunk. Meanwhile, Seth's parents were looking for him, and after not hearing from him since the night before, they called the police and they reported him missing. Remember how I said earlier in the video I was going to tell y'all something? Seth and Amber, when they were arguing online on Facebook and posting on each other's walls and talking crap to each other in the comment section, at one point, Seth accused Amber and basically their friends of using. And I'm wondering if they were on something like that, because for all of them, for all of these kids to sit and come up with this idea and not one of them said, y'all are crazy in your head. What are you talking about? Like, they had to be in another universe. And then you got Kyle, who come up with this plan, which means they thought it through. They all sat down in a group. They're like, yeah, that's a good idea. That's how we're going to do it. And then the next day afterwards, you're already feeling guilty. What, did he sober up? Nevertheless, the next day, Kyle starts feeling guilty. And it only takes one out of the group. He was sitting there with his mother when the report came on the news that Seth was missing. I mean, they didn't waste any time. He was a minor and nobody had seen him. And when Kyle saw that come up, he started to tell his mother about things that had happened. She immediately called the police and told them her son Kyle had told her that Seth was killed at Charlie's house and that she would be bringing him in for questioning. Now, I watched so much of this interrogation, y'all, and I watched it in Kyle, who obviously was just consumed with guilt, but don't matter. You already did what you did. You already planned it. You already was all in it then, okay? Was completely consumed with guilt. I don't know if somewhere in his mind, because I'm watching this thinking, somewhere in his mind, he thought that if he just went in and just told them the truth, that he was going to get out of it. Well, He went in and he started off with one version of his story.
After Kyle tried to give the investigators a fake story, they pressed him and Kyle ended up telling them the truth. This is when the cops issued arrest warrants for all of them and went and picked up Amber, Justin, and Charlie.
Let's start back with, tell me the story that you told your mom and start from the beginning, okay?
Okay. A couple days before the incident, probably is about Friday, somewhere around there.
Maybe Friday.
Kyle would go on to tell investigators that him and Mike were hiding in a bedroom when Seth was lured over to the house. He told the investigators that Seth sat down on a love seat in the living room, and this is when Mike and Kyle came out of the room and attacked him.
And Mike opened the door. I come out. I hit him over the stick, the head.
Where was Seth when you hit him?
He was in the chair.
Okay.
And I hit him over the head with the stick, and it broke 3 times on him. And
How are you gonna knock him out?
Roach was supposed to hit him with a bigger stick.
So Soto had a bigger stick.
Yeah.
When you say Roach, you're talking about Justin.
Yeah, Justin.
Soto, the one that's here.
That's what
Okay.
I'm really known by.
Roach. Okay.
And that's what really was supposed to do it. And Mike was like, I want him in the bathroom, and I want him knocked out, and I want him to wake up and know that I'm gonna kill him. That's what it was. But it didn't happen like that. I hit him, and he stood up, and when I broke it over his head 3 times, he stood up, and then Roach come in, and then he hit him with his stick, and then he was trying to go through the kitchen, and Mike shot him in the back twice with a gun.
Okay.
And then he was still trying to go out the front door, and Mike just kept on shooting him. I kept on telling Mike, I was like, stop it, let him go.
And this is definitely not the story that the others gave the investigators at first. As a matter of fact, they all tried to lie at first until they got pressed harder and harder, and the investigators let each and every one of them know that Kyle had already told. This is when things got really interesting because the investigators decided to put Charlie, Amber, and Kyle all in a room together and listen to them talk. And when you listen to them talk, you can really tell like how young and naive they are. And it almost seems like they don't even really understand the magnitude of what they have done.
I had to. They knew we were lying. They knew it the whole damn time.
What they said to you?
So we interviewed Amber.
1 second. Is that your mom's purse?
Yeah.
Can you give your mom one?
Did she leave it?
No, actually.
Said,
What did you guys say?
I know you're lying to me. I know all of y'all are lying to me. And now we cannot help you unless you tell me every detail and the whole story.
She told me, like, Kyle, I told her every detail. And I was like, what did he tell you?
I told her
She
everything.
started from whenever Brandon was there playing the guitar. And she was like, if you lie to me, I will walk out here and I won't give a shit what happens to you.
That's exactly what she said to me.
Yeah, they made me spill everything out.
I had to. I had no
And I didn't
choice.
clean up anything, and he keeps asking me, did you clean up anything? I was like, no, I've been in my room.
That's what I told him.
And that's what, and I'm like, me and Amber had been in the room. We didn't see blood, we didn't see anything. No, I told her I cleaned because she knows I cleaned it.
Well, I told her that too. I wasn't gonna do
Did you
that.
tell her I cleaned the floor?
Well, I told her.
Because I told her I only cleaned the door.
I told her every single detail that I know, and I don't know about the bleach situation. They kept on
They
asking
kept
me.
asking me where the bleach came from. I was like, I don't know. She's like, you're lying to me. I was like, I really don't know where the bleach came from.
I told her the same exact thing. I didn't know when I got to that house, when I started living there, that bleach was there. As far as I knew.
She was like, does your mom know
All
about
I
this?
can say is we're all screwed.
And I was the one who
I'm shaking.
I was the one who had to break it to her. How do you think that makes me feel?
Oh, oh God.
I don't wanna
Yeah,
see,
but what are we gonna do?
I don't want to see
We're
you
all
or
done.
Charlie go down.
But we already are. We were the ones that lured him down there. We were the ones that brought him down there.
I'm sorry, guys.
He's not gonna wait for me.
I'm sorry, guys. Listen, I'm trying to get, I'm kidding. I'm gonna try to get as much help from her as much as possible. That's why what she said to you, she said,
Did
I will
anyone
walk
ask
out
for a
of this.
lawyer?
Huh?
Did anyone ask for a lawyer?
You can't. Who's got money for a lawyer or an attorney?
No, they won't appoint one to you.
They can't appoint one to you, but what's the sense of having? One's gonna get appointed to you anyways when you go into the when you go into
What's the point of
court.
having one when we're the ones who did it and we just told the jury? What's the point? We're all gone.
Now, before Michael could be taken into custody, he actually tried to leave town. James, the one that got charged with accessory, had drove him and dropped him off at like an old girlfriend's house. It was said that once Michael arrived there, he began bragging about what he had done to the people that were there. He allegedly told them what he did in graphic detail. Like he's literally with these people telling them that he broke Seth's knees so he could fit him into the body bag. Like, are you freaking kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, 911, what's your emergency? Yes, I have somebody you need to pick up. And Michael ended up being arrested at that house the next day. And once he got into jail, he told 2 more people what he had done, bragging about it. Now, we can't wonder if he was on any substances or anything at this point because he was stone cold sober up in jail and he enjoyed telling this story. With a search warrant, investigators soon found the murder weapon and ammunition hidden at Charlie's home, as well as burnt human remains in the fire pit. Then, in the Ocala quarry, a 5-gallon bucket with a plastic bag was found floating in the water, and a dive team found 2 more buckets weighed down with cinder blocks. Even though some of them were juveniles at the time, prosecutors charged all of them as adults. And forensics later revealed that DNA from Seth's blood was mixed in with several of the defendant's DNA and blood splatters throughout the house. And experts confirmed burned tissue and bone remains from the fire pit and the quarry came from the same person and were biologically matched to Seth's parents. In June of 2012, they were all sentenced to life in prison except for James, who ended up pleading guilty in 2018 for the accessory charge. Amber had a retrial but was convicted again and still remains in prison. She was featured on an episode of Killer Women on Netflix. Now, Charlie Ely, the 18-year-old whose home that all of this happened at, she ended up back in 2020 getting the first degree murder charge overturned and ended up getting a lesser charge of second degree murder and got sentenced to 10 years and already had time served. So she's out. Michael Bargo, on the other hand, ended up being sentenced to death, making him Florida's youngest inmate on death row. And in 2021, the Supreme Court upheld his sentence after he tried to get it appealed. Now, I have watched so many videos of Michael, and I'm going to tell y'all straight up, I think he's evil. He testified so many different times, and he just talked cool, calm, and collected like it was no sweat, like it was just another Tuesday.
Well, a few more days go by, and me, Amber, and Kyle were at my house. In fact, there's woods across from my house, and my grandparents are, you know, they're elderly people. You know, they're from the age where, you know, pot's really bad. You know, well, we were across the street, you know, in the woods smoking a joint. You know, we can't do that for my grandparents; they'd freak.
I feel like maybe people that don't watch as much true crime as we do, you would think that like an 18-year-old that did some stuff that he did, breaking the kneecaps, playing with the tongue, all of that stuff would be like, holy cow, what I like traumatized thinking about it. But it was like no sweat off of his back the whole entire time. Creepy. But when you hear about this story, first of all, Seth being the baby, right? That this is somebody's child. 15 years old. When you're 15 years old and you got a girlfriend or a boyfriend, you think that is the love of your life. It is so like intense when you're that young. And man, it's just so sad. He literally walked into the trap and going there and just wanting to rekindle that love. And then all these people had this plan. It is just such a sad and disturbing and crazy story. all the way around. It's like all the pieces fell into place with this Charlie having this house, and oh my gosh, it's just terrible. Terrible, terrible. And you want to know what? What happened to Seth was devastating. And there's a video of his mother getting up and speaking at Kyle, who at once was Seth's best friend, spoke at his hearing and said that, you know, every Christmas he won't be there. She won't watch him get married. It's just crazy. Crazy and sad and awful. Have y'all heard about this case? Let me know what you guys think in the comments section down below. Other than that, I love you guys. I hope y'all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Make sure to get outside, get some sunshine, drink your water, and I will see y'all next week for Spooky Week. Love you guys. Bye.